This is just a picture show. We're back to silent movies.
That's scary because we all have faces for radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I always say I've got a face for radio, a voice for print, but I'm too lazy to write, so that's why I do a podcast.
We should have audio now.
Well,
There we
see
go.
if
They
everybody
can
agrees
now
we have
hear us.
audio, and then we could just start over.
All right, so now we got to start over, and I got to do my whole joke again.
Was that a joke? Is that what you called that?
Oh, that was right to the heart, Jerry. That was right to the heart. Welcome, everybody, to RideMSTA, now with audio. MSTA, the podcast. And I'm not going through the whole thing again, but welcome, RJ, Tom, and Jerry, along with me.
Soon they'll say, all right, you were more entertaining when you were silent.
Oh, man, we could do that. We could do an entire episode where it's like a silent movie. We'll just put up random pictures. That'd be fun. I'll do like random little blurbs and blobs on the screen. That'd be cool. All right, so MSTA, we've got some upcoming rallies. We've got April 26th. We've got the Not Looking for Bigfoot rally in Mountain Home, Arkansas. See, we lost audio and now I can't talk. Now we got April 26th as well. We got the North Georgia Classic in Dillard, Georgia. May 3rd, the Ozark Escape Rally. Our man Jerry's event, Eureka Springs, beautiful territory. Also that same weekend, the Tusky Muskie Rally out of New Philadelphia, Ohio. Coming up on May 17th, we have the T Rally in Harrison, Arkansas. May 23rd, we've got TriStar out of Sparta, North Carolina. That's Lou Laguna's run and beautiful territory as well. So be looking for those. Check out ridemsta.com/events. It'll have all of them listed. Go find an event. Come find us. We're a ball to ride with. We're a ball to hang out with. Except me, because I am just ball-shaped.
That describes a few of us.
I resemble that remark.
I have affectionately nicknamed myself the Potato in my entire riding group, so we're good.
That's why we have Tom here, so he can be the svelte and shape one.
That is not a phrase that has ever been uttered in my name. That's an oxymoron.
He's ripping that Triumph shirt like a boss, and he's just sitting over there chill with it. Also coming up on May 5th, if you are in the Wisconsin and Illinois area, Slimy Crud Run. It is not an MSTA event, but your resident MSTA guy will be there. So meet us in Pine Bluff. We'll take the ride over to Leland. We'll see some cool bikes. You never know who shows up at that rally. It was started by Peter Egan and the Slimy Crud Motorcycle Club. So cafe racers, old everything, new everything. It's probably going to be there. May 18th, we are doing a Wisconsin MSTA Ride to Food. We are going to be starting up in, or not May 18th. I looked at RJ's event. May 18th is the MSTA PA Ride for Food in Upper Black Eddy, Pennsylvania. RJ, you kick that one off.
Yep, we'll be meeting at for breakfast, and then about a 2-hour ride, 2 hours away, there's a great place for lunch and ice cream that we'll be headed to, and kind of choose your own adventure to get there or ride together as a group. And lots of good roads between the two places.
And then May 26th, that is the Wisconsin MSTA Ride to Food. We are going to be meeting at Linda's Bakery in West Salem, Wisconsin. And if you are familiar with the Driftless region of Wisconsin, we are going to be right in the heart of it. So we will be doing some amazing roads, amazing routes, a little bit of pre-planning for Twister next year, just a plug there, and having a good time. Linda's Bakery, bomb coffee, bomb baked goods. You're going to leave 20 pounds heavier. Just pack your bike accordingly. All right. Jerry, we have a couple of raffles going on for MSTA. You want to go through those real quick?
Yeah, sure. So, guys, if you haven't heard, we have a little get-together in October called STAR. It's going to be a great event. It's down in Kerrville, Texas this year at the YO Ranch. If y'all haven't been down to the Texas Hill Country, you really should make it part of your schedule for the fall. But we've got a couple of things that we're going to be raffling off. So the good folks at Nomar have raffled off their, or have given us a lift. And I'm trying to find the picture because I actually got to see it in person this weekend at the Moore Expo. They were there for the Power Sports show. And so let me pull that up real quick. But it's beautiful. And we're going to be selling raffle tickets for that. And then also we're going to have raffle tickets for the GSX-8 Suzuki that we got from Plano Kawasaki Suzuki in Dallas, Texas. They're the ones who supplied us that motorcycle. But you guys should get on the website. I'm not sure exactly what they have come up with. Here we go. There's Sue and everybody right there showing us the lift from the show. I'm not sure what the raffle tickets cost yet, so that's my fault. That's my cat, by the way, back there. But go check out the website. Nomar's, like I said, generously, Sue and Kevin have generously donated one of the lifts, and we've got the GSX-8 Suzuki that is a beautiful motorcycle too. So you guys should go check it out. Make sure you attend, and you don't have to be in attendance to win the motorcycle. I'm not sure about the lift, but I would say maybe not, but I wouldn't quote me on that one.
So if you attend and you ride in, you're just gonna tow the lift behind you to go home?
I guess if I win a lift, I'll figure out a way to get it home.
Amen to that, especially a Nomar lift.
Strap it to the back of the bike. There you go.
Or they'll probably ship it to you. I would think they would probably ship it to you. The one that they're going to have at the show is going to be a demo. So, maybe I would think it's going to be like the bike, right? You're going to have to go pay taxes on the motorcycle anyhow. So I'm sure the lift is probably going to have their own thing for how to pick it up as well.
And if nobody's had a chance to look at that GSX-8 yet, those are sweet little bikes.
I'm going to pull up a picture of it here real quick.
Yeah, they are super fun.
It is really sweet, yeah. Let's see, new inventory. I wouldn't come to me yet, just because I got a face made for radio and having to look around. So, hey, while I've got your undivided attention, don't forget about the Ozark Escape. It looks like we've got about 60 bikes signed up so far, so it's going to be a huge event. Next week, they're going to have the Not Looking for Bigfoot rally in Arkansas. So I will say that one thing about Arkansas, we have plenty of events. So really looking forward to seeing everybody out there. And Bill and Gayla put on a great event next week. And if you can't make that event, then we'd love to see you at the Ozark Escape.
Yeah, you know what else you have plenty of in Arkansas? Beautiful roads. The Ozarks are
gorgeous. We have a few. We got a couple of those.
Yeah, if you guys haven't had a chance to visit the Ozarks, go. It is worth the trip wherever you're at. It's a pretty area.
Very
Arkansas
good.
does have some pretty good food yet too. Just saying.
I don't have that one on the agenda, but so one news item. I am going to be visiting the Barber Museum this coming Friday.
Oh, nice.
So for those that don't know, I think Barber is are they the largest motorcycle museum in the country?
I think they're the largest in the world, aren't they?
So like 5 floors of motorcycles. So, yep, that's this Friday's trip.
I'm actually wearing my Barber shirt today.
I have never been, so this, even though I only live 2 hours from it, this is the first time for me.
One day is a quick visit. That is definitely a 2-day museum.
And Tom, you're contractually obligated to take lots of pictures and torture us. Oh, did we lose Tom?
Yep.
It's,
it should be entertaining. So, no,
and the track that's attached.
Can you not hear me?
The track that's attached is amazing.
Yep, we got you back, Tom. Can you hear
You
us?
can hear me now. Okay.
Yep, we're good.
Don't know where it went. I can hear y'all. Yep.
All right, Jerry, too. We got the screenshot up for. I'm
There
going to
we
teach
go.
you how to do screen share.
Yeah. So. Oh, I think we can work on it next time. But yeah, here's a quick little picture of what the bike looks like. That's the blue color that we have and everything. So yeah, it's a very nice looking machine.
Yeah, they're a punchy little parallel twin too, so it's going to be a fun bike for somebody to ride. So
Yeah, it's I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be great. Yeah, so I think if I push this button, yeah. So I'll learn how to present next time. How's that?
we'll figure it out. It's a work in progress, everybody. We're learning as we go.
Hey, we got sound at least for most of us.
Don't update your OBS and not check your settings, kids. I should know that better by now. All right, so rolling into our topic. If you guys have noticed, the title of the show, you bought the bike, so now what? So, we're going to start with RJ. RJ, when buying new bike, how do you prefer to buy?
So, and just kind of asking, I've done all three. How do you like to buy your bikes? Do you like to buy them brand new from a dealer? I've only bought one brand new bike in the time that I've been riding. It was an extreme leftover, I would call it. I bought a 2014 brand new VFR 800 in January of 2020.
Wow.
So it was I guess, 6-year-old, brand new bike.
Wow.
I mean,
So that was about half of the sticker originally was. And
so it had been sitting on the showroom floor for that long, or crated for that long?
They had gotten 6 or 8 of them from Honda. They were sitting in a warehouse.
So when you buy a bike that's it's a new bike, but that old, I'm sure, full warranty. What challenges, or is there anything extra that they
So they gave
do
you
when
the
you
full
buy a
bumper to
leftover
bumper
like
warranty.
that?
Like they gave you the full, I think Honda's a year. You got the full warranty. Now the challenge with those bikes were that the VFR 800s were not very popular in the United States, and there weren't a ton of accessories imported. And when the dealership bought the 6 bikes in a crate, they also said, Honda, give me every set of luggage you still have in the United States. So they actually had all of the hard bags and all that came with the bike sitting there that they could sell with the bike, and they were the only ones that had them.
Wow.
So it was kind of nice. There were certain other things, though, I did find when I had that you could not buy a center stand for it.
But with all the bikes you own, that's been the only new bike you've ever
That's the only
purchased?
new bike I've ever bought. I am cheap.
Wow.
I will allow someone else to take that depreciation hit for me, and I will buy things a couple years later. I have bought one used bike from a dealer, and that was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had buying a bike. The bike is fantastic. It's my Tiger 800 I bought from a Harley Davidson dealer. Went to go look at it. The price changed based on they advertised one price. We're selling it for a different one. They didn't know how to tighten a chain, and it was just like slop hanging there when you went to go look at it even.
Oh, man.
And their title and tag fees were 3 to 4 times what I would have paid on a private sale deal.
So they were adding
That's
some extra fees.
That's where they were making their money. Yes.
And they messed up the title, and I had to repay for the title a second time.
Wow, that's
Shouldn't
a dumpster
they
fire.
have had to pay for that title a second time?
Different state.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was my my use from dealer story, and then I've bought in several private party sales. Some of them friends of friends, but all of them tended to work better. But on the other hand, I am very mechanically inclined and kind of know what I'm looking for in a bike and know how to check a bike over. My wife and I were talking about this earlier. She's like, if I was on my own going to buy it, she's like, there's no way I would feel comfortable buying it from a person. So I was kind of wondering what you guys or how you guys felt about how you buy your bikes.
I've used to be mostly used from like private sellers because I could get better deals a lot of times. But the way the market went after like the early mid 2000s, it became a horse apiece, and I ended up with a pretty good relationship with some of my local dealers. One of whom decided to sour that over $500, and I typically tend to trend new or close to new anymore. Like my current Tracer, the guy bought it and it lived in its airplane hangar at his cabin for like, it literally sat in a climate controlled airplane hangar. The guy put less than 1,000 miles on it and then traded it in on a side by side because he realized he wasn't using the bike. It was easier to trailer his other bike up from his house. It was like brand spanking new. So that one I just bought close to new. I bought several new ones. That's not typically my preference, just like you said, because of the depreciation. I'm going to rack the miles on these things. So
Yeah.
every once in a while, though, something pops that I really want, and then I'll just jump on it and go for it. Now, for Tiff's bikes, she tends to keep them long term. So it's usually something she really wants that's got to be specifically ordered. So we end up buying hers new.
Jerry, how about yourself? You go new or used?
You know, I'm not a wrench at all. I just like to ride them, and so I try to stay with dealerships for the most part. Most of my bikes, and when I say new, I usually buy them when they're a year old and they're clearancing them out or that sort of thing. Last couple of Versas I bought have been brand new. I've got a great relationship with the dealer that I deal with. That makes a huge difference. But yeah, I would buy from you. I mean, I bought my KTM used. It's just I buy my bikes for the long haul. I kind of fall in love with what I'm riding, and so I've had my 2019 since 19, and I'll sell it when when it doesn't want to run anymore. So that'll be a while. So, but yeah, I really enjoy going through a dealer because if something goes wrong with it, I can take it right back there and say, fix it, and that's seemed to work out pretty good for me.
Yeah, the other advantage a lot of people, like myself included, has with the dealer. You guys ever try to sell a bike?
Yeah.
It's a
Sold a
pain in
bunch.
the butt. Like I occasionally flip bikes, and just dealing with that process, it's just teeth pulling. But when you're on the occasion that you're getting rid of one bike and you want something to upgrade it, the trade-in process is so much easier. You may lose a few bucks on it, but you literally write it in, say, here's the old one, that's the one I want, let's make a deal. And then you leave.
What about you,
I've done it
Tom?
both ways. So I'm I guess one of the outliers. I like shiny new things. Um, so I was just, as we were having this conversation, I'm starting to add up as to, okay, how many have I bought? And it's unfortunately a sad number. So in the last 15 years, I've bought 6 new bikes. Um, so yeah, I tend to be fickle, and every time I buy a new bike, it's like, okay, this one is going to last. This is the keeper. That's always going to last. And 3 to 4 years later, it's I'm looking for something else.
It's that new shiny
No,
problem.
that is. I guess the one exception to that is I call it a new bike, but my Bonneville, Frank Bonneville, it's a 22. I bought that last year. So it was semi-new. It was bought from a dealer. It was used, but it was a few months old with 180 miles on it.
Oh wow.
So I still call it new. The person bought it, never even titled it. So I was the first person to title the bike. So
Oh, wow.
technically it was new. But the person bought it and then decided to go live overseas and just told the dealer to sell it.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, but yeah, so, and I don't stick with one dealer. I've bought from several, yeah, six new ones in the last 15 years is my
That's
count, my current count. Now, out of those six, let's see, I have sold, I think, three were trade-ins. Yeah, three were trade-ins and two were private sales that I sold. My most recently was my gold one. I sold privately because the trade-in value was thousands less
oh,
than
wow.
than what the market had.
And that transitions really well into my next question. If you're buying used or you're selling the bikes, where is your preferred place to do it? How are you guys doing it? I know Facebook Marketplace can be a lovely time waste of getting messages, is this still for sale, or and people trying to give offers of things for half the amount, and then sometimes when you're going to buy something, there's no incentive to go delete the listing because you're not paying for it, and
Yeah.
things have been sold for years.
So I'll start off. My last two sales and my gold wing was one of these was through Facebook Marketplace. I've given up on Craigslist, and I've had good luck with it. And I know people say you get a lot of spam stuff and a lot of geisters coming in, but at least with the gold wing, I put at the bottom of the ad when I put up, okay, if the ad is here, no need to ask me if it's available, and I ignored people if it was available. Two, I put at the ad that the transaction will be completed at a local bank or at a police station. So no, that seemed to take care of any of those people that wanted to send their brother-in-law over with a
Yeah.
cashier's check.
I might have to employ that next time I flip, because that's
And
really
it turned out that the transaction I did with the guy that bought the gold wing was not at a bank or police station, but it was, I did insist on cash only. So
that's about the only way to go with those, because you can get some really funky paper if it ain't cash.
Yeah.
exactly. Yep. And it was same thing as far as no, I don't want a cashier's check or a personal check. I've done partial cash and partial Venmo, as long as I check the person out that purchased one of my other bikes. But this one was I had enough. You kind of know if you go back and forth with the person, you have a conversation with them on the phone, you get a pretty good idea whether it's legitimate or not.
Yeah. I don't know. I've had, like, for me, it's always been, it depends on the value of what I'm selling. Like, Facebook Marketplace is a dumpster fire, but I'll use it because Craigslist is basically a ghost town up here. Everybody uses Marketplace. But if it's much more than a couple grand, I'm just trading the thing in. I'm just going to trade it in on something else and save myself the headache.
Yeah, I mean, one of my last trade-ins, I intended to sell the bike privately, and usually, whenever I sell a bike privately, I'll strip it back to stock from anything that I've put on it. And I was all ready to do that, and told the sales manager, I says, I got $3,000 worth of crap on this GS, and I'm going to take it all off and sell it for stock. And recoup some of my funds and more for the trade. Let's run the numbers and talk now.
So they actually did bump the value on your trade.
Did I lose you guys?
You
Everybody
hiccuped
froze.
You hiccuped a couple of times, but did they actually give you a better trade-in value with the Farkles on it? Uh-oh.
Yeah. So that's why I said I told the sales manager that, am I still there or did I go away?
You're back.
Is that my internet going away? Am I back? All right. Yeah, the story was, walking out, met with the sales manager and said, I'm going to sell it on my own and I'll come back for the other bike. That I've got about $3,000 worth of Farkles. I'm going to strip off and take it back to stock. And he immediately said, well, what if I gave you 3,000 more?
Nice.
So it was like, okay.
That transitions really great into my next question is, do Farkles change the value of a bike that you're selling or buying for you? And is it a positive or negative difference? Two of the used bikes that we had bought, in the Triumph and the Tiger 800 from the dealer, it came with Jesse boxes on it. There is no way that I would have spent that kind of money on that luggage solution, but they're fantastic boxes. And her Thruxton that we had gotten, there was a lot of upgrades on that I would have never, if it was my own money, paid to go do. But they were all, in fact, some of them were no longer, you could no longer even buy them anymore. But that definitely made both of those bikes worth more to me, even going into buying them, because a lot of that stuff was done and it was stuff that I really would have wanted to do myself.
Yeah, when I bought my KTM, it was kind of funny. Jamie and I were sitting in a adult establishment having a beer, and it happened to pop up on the KTM page on Facebook. And so I messaged the guy, and he said, man, it had the Black Dog skid plate, Cooper airbox, new pipe, everything that most people would put on them. And so that was kind of the selling point there, because then I said, well, then I don't have to go order it. I don't have to put all that stuff on it. It was ready to go out of the box, and I never looked back. But from the dealership, I try, if I'm going to buy something, I'm kind of like Tom when I am buying. I do like all the bells and whistles and all the cool stuff, So I figure if I'm buying it from a dealership and it's new, I'll get it with everything. But if I'm buying used, the Farkles, sometimes it's too much or sometimes it's not enough. But I'll usually try to find something. If I am going to buy a bike with Farkles, it's going to be something that I want to have, So
I know for me,
And I don't.
Oh, sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Rob. I was going to say, Farkles, if you're looking at them, you're not paying the money for it. Or if you're selling a bike with Farkles on it, you're maybe going to get 20 cents on the dollar from what it cost you for that item.
Yeah, and that's been my thing too. Like selling, especially, I definitely don't get much value out of having the additional stuff on there. I know it's because a lot of stuff, especially when you're talking about exhausts and things like that, it's so subjective. Like some people, depending on the bike, want a certain type of exhaust with a certain type of sound. Especially if you get into the sport bikes, like I know guys who love Yoshimura. I don't. I like Remus, things like that. I like a deeper, throatier sound, the Microns. And even when shopping, like it's not a make or break deal for me. I will say though, like right now I'm shopping for an FJR. I need a better 2-up bike for my daughter. And one of the things that I've been really trying to gravitate towards is ones that already have the top box on them. Because they don't come with one. I could add it, but if I can get it worked into a deal somewhere and it's already there, bonus points. Not necessarily I'll pay more for it, but it may
I mean, my routine has always been even when I'm trading in a bike, is I'll strip it back to stock. And if it's stuff that I can move to the next bike, great. If it's bike specific and I'm moving on to something else, then I'll sell it on either the bike specific forums or on Marketplace, either or. And I've made out fairly well doing that.
Yeah. I've actually had really good luck when it comes to bike specific parts on the Facebook groups. So the bike-specific groups, those are a lot less of a pain than Marketplace.
True, absolutely.
My Tiger was an interesting one. When the person tried to trade it in, they got the price, and when they came to go get their bike, the boxes weren't on it. And the dealers told him, he's like, that price we gave you is with those cases on it. Go get them. So they were in a box sitting in the salesman's office, and a few weeks later, I decided, I really don't like the seat on this, so I started searching Craigslist, and I found some guy in New Jersey that was selling a factory gel seat, a Madstad windshield, heated or fog lights for it. So I contacted him. I went to go buy the seat and the windshield, and we started talking. And the guy's like, "Well, he's like, I went and traded my Triumph in for a Harley," and he's like, "I took my boxes off, and they made me go bring them when I went to trade it in. They made me bring them back." I ended up finding the owner of the bike that I bought.
Oh.
So he gave me all the service records for it and everything. I ended up getting he was a mechanic. He worked on his own bikes too, so got like a complete shim kit for the cams to do the valve shims. And
oh, nice.
So it ended up, and then finding out when the services were done, it was actually nice that I found out like he had just done the valve service, so I don't need to do this for another 15,000 miles or 20,000 miles.
Nice.
So it was kind of a cool find.
Well, we've bought the bike. It may or may not be pre-farkled, right? So here's the next question. What is the first farkles we put on these machines of ours? Given what we do, being touring riders, what are some of the first things, what are some of the must-haves, and some of the things you'd recommend to somebody who's new to the sport touring or adventure touring madness that we've all been drawn into? So
I got three that go on every bike. But go ahead, Jerry. Do yours.
I think my thing is, first thing I put on a motorcycle is an Airhawk seat. I've always had an Airhawk seat, pad for my bike. GPS. I know some people don't like GPSs, but I think they make life very convenient. And the third thing is probably a tank bag. I can't imagine riding a motorcycle without a tank bag. And but those are the first three things I try to put on them. Sorry about that, Tom.
No, you're good. So similar to that. So I do the three that go on every bike immediately is phone mount and charger, and my preference is quad lock, so I've got that everywhere. I put on grip puppies because the grips on every bike I've owned are not thick enough for me, and then I do a hookup for my heated gear. So those are the three absolutes that at minimum have to be there, and then I'll get into looking at luggage, whether saddlebags or a tail bag.
And I'm with Jerry on the tank bag. So I run the Oxford tank ring. So if I'm looking at a bike and I've confirmed a purchase on one, the first thing I will do is order that ring lock for it. And I will take it to the dealer with me and put it on the bike before I leave. Because then I can lock my tank bag on it. All the tank bags I have use it. And it's just super convenient. But I'm the same way. I cannot ride without a tank bag. If I'm going more than just to the grocery store and back, my tank bag is on that bike. Even if I don't have the saddlebags or the trunk on it. But
I would agree with the tank bag as well. Depending on the bike, the second thing is usually some kind of protection for the bike. Either engine guards or skid plate kind of thing. Like if it's a dual sport or if it's my wife's, it usually definitely gets the engine guards because it's a lot easier to fix that. Then for
you just
me,
have to stop dropping the bike a little bit more. A little less.
Then for me, I want the first thing I do when I get any bike is actually get it set up for myself. I have found that I like to lower my controls on my handlebars, that I like my throttle, my brake and my clutch kind of down a little bit lower than most people do. getting the suspension set up, and I like to let it go for a little bit and see if where comfort issues start popping up. I've depending on the bike, I've done seats, I've done tank pads, I've changed peg positions out. I've had the stock seat pan redone by on my Tiger by somebody who basically just redid Tiger seats. I had a seat redone on a cafe racer that I had by someone that does car restorations, like on interiors. It's an upholsterer, and he kind of set that up for me. My seat is one of those things I like having to be relatively comfortable on,
Yeah.
and then after that, usually suspension, and usually most factory tires are terrible.
Yeah,
So
seats are a big one for me too. Like, I don't know of any motorcycle I've ever bought that I didn't immediately want to rip the stock seats off of. The GSs were probably the closest. I had some pretty good luck with the GS seats, but
my VFR was fantastic. That was probably the best stock seat I've had on a bike.
see, I haven't ridden the newer ones yet. But I know my 6th gen, that thing came off immediately, and that one actually had good luck with Sargent on. But usually I've got to find an upholsterer or something.
So seats for me are always if I have to change the ergonomics on the bike, which typically I always have to do either, and most times raise myself up a couple of inches and typically push myself back a couple of inches. The one exception to that right now is my my Tiger 900. Is the ergos are just spot on and the seat is not too bad. But my Triumph Bonneville, that one I had to do significant changes, the 20 millimeter raise on the bars, and then had the seat completely rebuilt to flatten out and add about almost 3 inches.
Oh, wow. I suppose the Bonneville has that kind of dished seat factory, doesn't it?
Had a dish seat that just, the seating position didn't work for me, so I wanted it flat so that I could slide back, and then I needed it raised. So that's, challenge of having long legs is that most bikes don't fit me ergonomically.
See, I'm short and stocky, so I usually have the other issue. I get hot spots on the seats, and it's like there's never quite the right padding in the right places. And
yeah, and someone in the chat mentioned bead rider or a beaded seat. So I've got one of those. So I do like my beaded seat, and now on my Tiger that we've hit the warmer weather and I don't need the heat anymore, I've put my beaded seat on there. So that adds some nice airflow to the nether regions.
I have never tried a beaded seat.
I've enjoyed a good sheepskin.
Yeah, I've tried the sheepskin. I've tried. I use what
I have
Jerry's
one of
got
those,
now.
but I wasn't that crazy about it.
If people ever jumped into this chat and weren't familiar with what we were talking about, they would think we're crazy people talking about beaded seats and sheepskins and air hawks and stuff like that. It's just kind of funny.
They're going to watch this podcast. Somebody random is going to find it in about 10 years and go, what are these weirdos on about?
They're like, this RJ dude's into sheepskin, and it just that was I'm sorry, that was kind of hit me funny there. So
oh man, yeah, I've used like Jerry has the Airhawk seat. I've had really good luck with that because I can adjust it on the fly, but I've never tried the beaded seat. I might have to try that one day.
It's it doesn't, it looks like it would be a torture thing because the one I have is they're ceramic beads. They're black, so you'd think they would absorb a lot of heat, but they don't. And it looks like it would be uncomfortable, but I love them on the bike seats. I think they're great. Now I won't put one on my Bonneville just because, that you need that's part of stylistic. For that.
Yeah, those
but,
beaded seats on any other bike look great, Tom.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Brad, out there for your beaded seat cover.
Oh my God, Brad said I never use the phrase and I enjoy good sheepskin. Speaking of Brad, he actually brings up a really good one, the SAE plug. that is definitely a day one pretty much for me
Yeah,
too.
that goes on every bike. I find at least, well, all right, since I buy bikes from the dealers, every dealer puts an SAE plug on the bikes these days.
Oh yeah, it's a convenience thing for them because it's just plug it in, let it charge up for a while, we're good to go. But we have a lot of downtime in Wisconsin, so having that SAE plug, being able to roll it in, pop that, and that little battery tender SAE to USB adapter is money. Like I've got power ports on my Tracer, so it's got a little USB, but it's only on when the key is on. So having that little SAE to USB, if I want to charge like helmet comms or something when I'm off the bike, wonderful for it.
I actually use portable storage for more for that than even the bike, like one of those juice packs or
So
just plug them
one of
into
the
that.
things, one of the things I use is I found, well, I'm a big camper and that sort of thing. They make a battery pack that's actually got a solar panel on the top of it, and so I put that in my tank bag, and so it's charging the whole time because the sun's going on the tank bag, and it charges that up, and so I always have that extra battery thing with me, so that works out pretty well too.
Yeah, I've never tried one of those. I might have to give that one a shot too. I just, with the power banks, I always look at it as one more thing I've got to manage. So having the ability to just plug a USB port into that SAE plug real quick. Because I'm also usually carrying like my drone. I'm carrying camera gear, things like that, because somebody likes to go shoot videos. And just having that quick plug it in, don't think about it. It charges off the bike battery for a few minutes, and we're back at it. It's kind of nice. And it's so small. I mean, it's tiny little thing. It's not much bigger than the SAE plug itself, so it can go anywhere in your tank bag. But I'm gonna have to give that solar battery charger or battery pack a try though, because I've got that big window in the top of my tank bag.
Yep, that's what I use mine for. Yep.
That's not a bad idea at all. So those are our pretty much must-haves. What are some things you guys would recommend? You got somebody that's just coming into the sport touring world. They're going to be doing their first tour, first long-distance ride. What are some things you would recommend to them to do?
One of the things I would say is, first of all, too many people get hung up on buying stuff and getting stuff and wanting to go do stuff. The biggest thing is just go get on the bike, right? Go find out. Don't go spend a lot of money on all the farkles and all the stuff until you ride it. You figure out what you really need to have. It's really a shame, and again, I see this in the off-road market as well, right? Is people they won't go camping or they won't go see anything because they've got to spend tons of money on winches and tires and all this sort of thing. And look, I'm getting ready to go to Expo West on my Versus. I'm going to be gone for 14 days. I'm camping. I know exactly what I need on my motorcycle. I know all the stuff I don't need on my motorcycle. And so I think one of the biggest recommendations is Brad in Oklahoma is doing this about the camping, right? Is don't go buy all this high dollar stuff. Go do it, and then alter and go buy what you need and that sort of thing. The only thing I would say that you need to have, or that I would ask you to buy, make sure you have a tire changing kit or a plug kit, and you have a compressor on your bike.
Yep.
The rest of the stuff you can pretty much figure it out on your own while you're doing your trip, But if anybody out there is listening to this whole thing, you don't need a whole bunch of dollars to spend on your motorcycle. You don't need to just go out and ride it. Go out and do it. Go do it, and then that's my biggest thing.
Absolutely. The only things I would mark as must-haves is, like Jerry said, the tire plug kit and a small compressor. I would recommend one of those small battery jumpers, like the little lithium-ion battery jumpers, just in case, because you're going to be on a long trip. Then you can just jump your bike if you leave the lights on.
And you can charge your phone with it.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only other thing I would recommend is a good multi-tool. Like, get a quality one from like Leatherman or Gerber. you can be surprised at how much little stuff you can fix quick between the factory toolkit in most bikes and a multi-tool.
You know, my multi-tool's a little credit card, and I call people.
I'm kind of with
Tell
you
them to
there
come
too,
fix
but they're a little expensive when you're way out in the middle of the woods or something, and they got to come rescue you just because you put a hole in your tire.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I thought that when you said, Jerry, as far as putting stuff on, years ago when I got my first GS and I was going to do some off-roading, one of the first things I put, they had a GSA, so it had the racks on it. So I thought, well, everybody gets these toolboxes. I got to put a toolbox on it. So I spent the money and I put a toolbox on it, and then I put a bunch of tools in the toolbox. Then I realized, I don't know how to fix the bike. I don't even know how to use these tools. So why am I carrying this with me?
The only
So
thing...
I took the tool. Yeah, I took the tools out. Sold the toolbox, and I was much happier because it's like it was anxiety. Oh, I got these tools. I got to use them. How am I going? I don't know how to use them.
Just Jeremy Clarkson it. Everything's a hammer. Whack, whack, whack. I mended a thing.
Yeah, I just I'm carrying them around just in case I'm riding with someone. They know how to use them or they break down.
See, and RJ's just laughing because he's like, I fix everything, and the rest of us are like, I ain't fixing anything.
The first long adventure trip we took, we went up to Green Mountain National Forest in Vermont, and I'm sitting here thinking, I took sockets and everything because I changed countershaft sprockets out once I got up there to run lower gearing in the dirt versus running the highway on the way up, that I could run a higher gear to get better mileage and not stress the bike as much. But on with like what Jerry said, my biggest advice is don't go fixing problems that you don't have.
Yeah.
Don't go farkle just to farkle. Make sure that you're changing that seat out because the seat's actually uncomfortable. And the only way you figure those things out is riding the bike. And then, secondly, if you do decide to make those changes, don't do it the week before you go on a trip.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, test ride it.
Yeah, I'll say, like, I've watched guys in the adventure bike world up here. Like, they're just getting into adventure bikes, and they spend so much money on this bike. And then you run into an issue. Now you've spent so much money on it, you don't want to do the adventure thing with it. So don't overdo it on your bike either, because then you're not going to want to scratch up your expensive stuff. Unless you're me, and then you just go full send on everything, and it's made to be beat.
There was a great story, this article, it was several years past, but it always stuck with me as far as this guy doing his first long trip. He was doing a trip to Alaska, and he loaded up his bike with so much gear and so much food that, because he was going to be out in the wilderness. And at one point he stopped the bike because he had fallen over and he couldn't pick the bike up and had to take everything off. He ended up throwing out almost 60 pounds worth of food and gear, and then continued on his trip and figured out he never needed it.
Yeah.
Everybody carries the kitchen sink, all kinds of stuff. Don't think you need all of that luggage. Jerry, sorry, but don't think you have to carry all that camping gear. Go stay in a hotel. You get a nice shower. You get a nice bed. You get to charge your crap at night.
So it's kind of funny. So we did the BDR last year, and one of the guys that went on the trip, he's a new guy. He's a great guy, but he had more things on his KTM, and he dropped it twice in a parking lot because it was so darn heavy. And we were kidding him. We're like, you're not going to need that. You're not going to need that. And so when he got to the first place he could ship it all home, he shipped half of it home. And, so it's, and Tom, a lot of people I know think like Tom, and they like to do the hotel thing. Man, I guess I'm just not old enough yet to fall for that. See, I guess that's my whole situation.
See, I'm 50-50 on that because I'm kind of with Tom on the whole, I'm going to be camping at the Best Western. But I've slowly been getting talked back into moto camping through a few friends because they're posting these pictures and it looks so pretty, and it's like, I can kind of get it. So I'm kind of starting to do. I used to do it a lot, and I'm kind of reigniting that passion for it.
The best way to moto camp was just a toy hauler.
Amen.
So
RJ,
I
that's
never
not
understood
moto
the
camping.
draw of the whole moto camping thing. Because, okay, I get Jerry because Jerry camps regularly, not just on the motorcycle. But then there are people that only camp on the motorcycle. I never saw that draw to it.
See, that would be me because when I camp personally, I better be in a camper or I'm going to be unhappy. So with the motorcycle, the only reason I started looking at it again, it's kind of a means to an end. There's some of these trail runs I want to do, like some of these BDR runs and things like that, where there really isn't accommodations close by that are hotels. You almost have to have some level of moto camp for these trips. And I like the Trans-America Trail is one of them too. Like there's a lot of sections of that where you're going to go a long ways before you ever find a hotel. And if you're cashed out and you're 500 miles from anything, you just pop the tent, get some rest, hit it again the next day.
Yeah, I guess that's not a trip I'd be taking.
Well, yeah, actually, Trans-Wisconsin Trail, you've got a lot of areas where you can pretty much get to a hotel off of any spot of that trail, but it can be, 30, 40-minute hike. And there's spots, especially up on the northern part of it, where it could be an hour and a half drive off the trail. So at least to any place that would be better than a tent. Because some of these hotels, let's be honest.
My thing is with a tent is I can.
So the last your
I
first
grew up
tour.
riding on.
Oh, Tom's cutting it again. So.
No, go ahead, Jerry.
I grew up tent camping on a motorcycle, and I guess one of the other things is RJ and I are a lot alike when it comes. I'm a cheap dude, and I really like the fact that I can go. I'm going to go on a 14-day trip, and I'm going to camp or stay with friends the entire time, and I'm going to spend less than $300 on lodging for 14 days. I get to spend all that extra money on other cool stuff, right? And that's part of what I really enjoy about camping on a motorcycle is I think it brings you back down to why you like to ride a motorcycle. I, for one, don't like to set up a tent in the middle of the night, so I'll make my days a little shorter, but I'll enjoy what's going on. Look, I stay in hotels too, right? I'm not gonna lie, but if I had to prefer, I would prefer to do it I'd prefer to sleep on the ground and do it on a motorcycle. So.
So yeah. Oh, yeah. Chill. So the one last advice I'll give as far as for people that are doing their first motorcycle tours is pack everything that you think you're going to need for that trip, how many days it is. Take half of it out and do the trip with half of what you packed and try that.
That's not a bad bit of advice. The other thing I've said too is pack the stuff that you're going to take on this trip, do an overnight. Just go out and do an overnight, not that far from home. Try it out. See, okay, this isn't really something I'm going to need. Come back home, drop the rest off.
Because, think of it this way. If you forget something or you bring something that all of a sudden you absolutely need it, not in the middle of nowhere, chances are there's a Walmart 10 miles from wherever you're going to be to go get whatever you need.
Yep. 100%. A Walmart, Costco, you name it. There's a Dollar Tree on every corner of every rural town.
With the exception of Davis, West Virginia. If you cannot get it in the Dollar General, you do not need it because it is over an hour to get to a Walmart.
Wow. So we talked about stuff you need, you don't need, which is most everything. What are your nice to haves? The stuff that you farkle your bike out with or you take with you, that's kind of that icing on the cake. Little luxuries, things like that. Like, what do you take with you?
I think mine is probably not as much motorcycle related as I love having my Sena camera hooked up, and I like having the music part of it. That's probably the thing I like. I can't imagine doing a trip without something like that, because
That's
everything
true.
else the bike has, right? Or I think it has. But I do like having my Sena and being able to listen to music and being able to tap a button and take a picture when I want to or do some video. I really do enjoy that.
Yeah, I don't think I could do a long ride without my helmet comms anymore. Like, I have my link to the phone. I've got, if Tiff is with me, we're talking back and forth, and then music when I'm alone. Like, I can't do long rides or long drives without music or a podcast or something to keep my mind going, or I will fall asleep.
Yeah, I'd agree. I wasn't thinking of that as far as that's more my stuff rather than stuff for the bike. But yeah, I've got a headset on. I've been using a headset gone for 17 years, I think. I was an early adopter
Yeah.
of Bluetooth headsets. Um,
Guys, I started running the back in the MP3 player days. I was running the earplugs headphones, and I started running an MP3 player with me, and it was game changing back in the day to do that. The
Yeah.
other thing,
I'll tell you quick. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, the other thing too for me, if my bike does not have cruise control, I have to have some sort of throttle lock. Kayoko's been my go-to. I used Throttle Meisters for years. Unfortunately, they're no longer in business. Atlas has got a good one. We tried that one out on Tiff's, and she's liking it so far. But I have to have something to be able to take my hand off and relax it. And that may just be me because I've got nerve damage in my hands, but
It's kind of funny. I have cruise control on my motorcycles, and I bet I can count on one hand how many times I use it. I'm just never been a cruise control guy. But I'm going to go back and tell you a quick story about the CD changer. So, back in 1986, maybe we were heading to Paonia, Colorado, to the BMW rally, and I was on a GSXR 750, and it had a tank bag that was full, and I put all my underwear and t-shirts in this tank bag so I could put my CD player on top of it so I could lay on it so it wouldn't skip.
oh
You
man,
guys remember how they used to
Yep.
skip, And we were in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the only time I've ever had anything ripped off my motorcycle was somebody cut the straps of that tank bag, took the tank bag, and I just wish I could have seen their face when they got a bunch of underwear and t-shirts and a little rinky-dink CD player in the tank bag.
Oh man, I forgot all about those old CD players. Remember when they started coming with the anti-skip? I think we
Yep.
all lost
Yeah, oh,
our
yeah.
minds.
This was before that. I had to lay my ass on it just to keep. Excuse my language. I had to lay down on it just to keep it from skipping around.
My very first car was an 82 Mustang GT, and I had an Alpine tape deck in it. And when those started coming out with anti-skip, I got one of those cassette tape adapters with a headphone plug on it so I could listen to my CD player in that car.
RJ's like, you guys are old.
I had one of them.
Cassettes and CDs? What are you kidding? My first car had an 8-track player.
Oh man. Oddly,
I'll date myself a little bit.
I've owned cars with 8-track players, but not
That was
to be
cutting
named.
edge technology.
Oh no,
Like,
this was
wow.
definitely.
When we first got cassettes, that was amazing.
I bought
I didn't need a suitcase.
I bought a 78 Regal, and it had an 8-track player in it, and it had come with a Pink Floyd The Wall 8-track still in it.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a fun drive home. It was a cool car, though, too.
I remember my dad had a 76 Blazer, and it had an 8-track player in it. Putting them in.
So that's it. We have got to add 8-track players to motorcycles, people. They're cool.
Coming
they
to the
didn't need
next
the
Gold
luggage
Wing.
to carry them along. Yeah.
That actually brings up a good question. Did the Goldwing ever have an 8-track player? Because that thing's been around long enough. It might have.
Yeah, not that I know of, because really, it wasn't until the 2000s that they started really growing into size, right around 2000, right? Or
No,
late
they had
90s
like
maybe?
they had the early 80s. They had the, was it 84, 85? They had an Aspencade.
Is it that long? Okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't really follow. I only had Goldwing for a few years. I guess I didn't follow back then. But yeah, I don't think so. They might have had a cassette player in the back, but I don't know anything. 8-track, yeah, maybe not. 8-tracks kind of died away.
I had a CX 500, which was a dog of a motorcycle, but I had a rooster fairing on it that had a radio on it. I was cool back in 1984, boy.
Oh yeah. Hey, it's almost as cool as the Vetter fairing.
Well,
The
rooster was a
Windjammer.
little baby Vetter. That's what they called it, a rooster.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Oh,
So
man.
there was an 8-track player available that could be added to the 1970s touring Harleys.
Are you serious? Well, it's confirmed. There was a motorcycle built that had an 8-track player on it. That is wild. I didn't even think Harley got into it with the radios until the 80s, though. That was weird. But I can fully back up now. 8-track players on motorcycles. Bring them back. That's a now must-have. Or we could just go the old reel-to-reel. Throw a deck in the trunk. We'll be good. So,
or we could just get future technology and just move forward, which would probably be the best thing to do.
I'm pretty good with my iPhone and Senna, so I think I'll have to go with you on that one. Some other nice things that I've usually take along with me. The windscreen, I usually swap those out just to get a little more protection from elements, because if you're riding on a tour, you're going to hit weather almost without a doubt. Or at minimum, have good gear and have a good rain suit to go over it. I'm not a huge Harley guy, but I can honestly say their rain gear is probably the best I've ever used. I mean, I had a set last 20 years. And it wasn't riding that did it in, it was teaching on the range.
Hey, so I got a quick question. So, are you guys rain gear people, or are you buy gear that costs a lot of money that keeps the rain off you? I'm a Frog Togs guy, right? $70, throw them on, they work great. What do you guys like to do?
I have spent all the money in the world on gear and treatments, and I have never found gear that will survive through all the different elements. I have been wet in every single expensive piece of gear I've ever had, but I have not been wet when I covered that gear in that stupid rain suit. So the people that say go spend the $900 or $1,200 on the climb jacket and this and that, they've never ridden in real rain.
I have a climb and an arrow stitch, and then I have a rain gear set too, depending on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Vortex fan. So all my gear is either climb or arrow stitch, and I'm a fan of it. I hate stopping to put gear on as to whether the rain's coming or not. I just like, let me just zip the vent up and then dry and complete downpours.
Tom,
I
you're
will
missing
say-
the whole thing of riding a motorcycle. The rain roulette is awesome. Trying to figure out whether to put it on or take it off or put it on. Come on now.
I will say I have
I'll
crash
just sit
tested
there and put my zip up. That's it. You crash tested, RJ?
My wife pointed out in the chat here that I had a set of frog trogs. Apparently, they will not last crashing at VIR over a set of race leathers.
Yeah, probably not.
God, no.
But you'll be dry until you yard sale it.
Yep, pretty much.
I don't think they'll last you just nailing on the ground.
I can confirm that because I had frog togs on the range one day in a downpour, and I tripped walking backwards and shredded the pants.
Yeah, yeah. So Jerry, I go the other direction. And Rob, to me, it's all Gore-Tex gear, other than my summer stuff. My summer stuff is mesh, and if it rains on me when it's 90 degrees and I'm riding, I will gladly get wet.
See, now when it's 90 degrees, I don't mind the wet. Now when it's 55 degrees and you run through a torrential downpour for 4.5 hours because you have to get home, give me my rain gear.
Yeah, one of the things I like about the frog togs is, especially in the summertime, I wear my vintage jacket. If I get cold, I can put that frog tog jacket on, and man, that makes a big difference. And I splurge and I buy the high dollar frog togs, so I like the $70 pair, so they don't rip when you fall on the pavement there, Rob. So you can just splurge for the high dollar frog togs.
Hey, champagne taste, beer budget, all right?
There's, mantra that I have that I tell my students is that there is no bad weather, just bad gear.
Yeah.
Two things that I like having that haven't been mentioned so far. I will very rarely ride without earplugs.
True.
I usually
ride
do.
Without them.
I usually do the acoustic ones. The times that I've ridden with, times I've done longer rides without them, I feel like I'm much more fatigued by the time I get to where I am.
I didn't start doing that until a couple of years ago, and
tinnitus is fun. And the second thing is a hydration bladder.
Oh yeah,
like a pack that you could drink while you're riding to try and replace some of what you lose.
You know what I like to do on longer trips, and I do a lot of them, is I never ride for more than an hour at a time. So I ride, I get off, even if it's 5 minutes, get up, do whatever I'm going to do, get back on the bike, get a quick drink. I think that's one thing that too many people ride tank to tank, and all of a sudden it just becomes a grind. When I'm on a motorcycle, I don't want it to be a grind. I want it to be fun, and I agree. Hydration, earplugs, I don't even consider that. That's just something I always wear. That's like part of all the gear all the time thing, even though I wear the foam, the cheap OSHA foam ones I can get for a bazillion of them for $5,
See, the hydration bladder for me, I'm one of those masochists that likes doing the endurance rides. So like the iron butt rides, things like that. So I have to keep moving. And that hydration bladder has kept me from dehydrating so many times. Especially if you take a couple of like the electrolyte tabs and toss in there. Keep yourself from washing the electrolytes out. I'll finish the ride a little fatigued, but fresh as a daisy.
Does everyone know the secret for cleaning them?
Bleach water?
No, even cheaper. Denture cleaning tablets.
Oh.
You throw 2 of them in, you let them fizz, you run it through the thing, let it sit for a few hours, clean it out. It kills everything that's in it. It's safe.
So, how did you come upon that?
High side, low side.
I was going to say, I read that on High Side, Low Side.
Really?
Oh,
okay.
Man.
Yep.
I'm going to have to try that now because me and my daughter both run them now.
I just wash mine out with soap detergent, and then I throw it in the freezer. So I keep it in the freezer dry.
I've never thought of throwing it in the freezer.
All of mine flip inside out.
Rather than trying to get all the water out or get it to dry, is that after you wash it, I fold it up and throw it in the freezer.
That's a really good idea. I'm sitting there with a hairdryer.
You're not going to get any mold in it.
Yeah, all of mine flip inside out. That they're the ones that the top slides off on completely.
Got it. But I rarely ride with a hydration bladder. I don't. It's God. I could count on my hands. But mostly, I don't do that because I wear an airbag vest. So that's just one more thing that has to be hanging off me that can expand. So.
Well, we've talked about Farkles and gear and all the fun stuff. Jerry, how do we prepare for an epic motorcycle trip? You're our resident expert, so.
Man, I tell you, I love this part of my motorcycle trip. To me, motorcycle trips start months in advance. You know, I love these people that can go out and say, "Oh, I just get on the bike and I go." My OCD won't let that appear for me. I can't do that. But one of the things that I love to do is part of the fun for me of doing a trip is sitting down, doing the research on where I'm going to be. I hate being on the interstate for the most part. So, you know, I love going through these little bitty towns. I love having a plan. I like having all my each day. I may not do the complete route, but I like having the route. I'm a guy that I like knowing where I'm going to stay. Even if it's camping, I kind of know where I'm going to go. Part of the thing that with a motorcycle trip for me is I like to get all that thinking out of the way at the beginning, and that way when I hit the road, it's all there, and I can just get on the bike and go do my trip. But again, so many people, there's no right way or wrong way to tour on a motorcycle. My dad never did any of that. He always just got up, threw his sleeping bag on his motorcycle, and went and hit the town. So there's not a right way or a wrong way to do it. But I love the planning part of it. I like, hey, do I want to go see this? I think too many people, when they get on a motorcycle, even guys I know in the MSTA, they want to do two things, right? They want to go someplace and they want to go do twisty roads. And I've caught myself up in this as well, you know, where at the end of the day, everybody will say, "Oh, did you notice this?" And you're like, "No, because I was just trying to survive," right? You know, you're just having fun trying to go quickly and everything. I guess the older I get, I kind of want to smell the roses a little bit more, and I love doing the spirited riding, and I love doing that. But now I want to really make sure if I'm going to be through someplace, I want to make sure that I'm seeing the things I want to see. I'm not missing anything, and I'm doing it in a safe way too, because nothing's worse than getting on a road trip and the roads are closed, or you've got some weird thing going on, or you're trying to stay in some town that's got a softball tournament the same night and rooms are $300, or you can't find a room. You know, all the people going to Deals Gap starting May 1st, right? They're going to run into that situation.
Yep.
If they don't pick up something and realize, oh, they're repaving the road, right? So I think planning on my part, I love doing the planning part. I'm probably a little more anal than most when it comes to that. I really like mapping things out. But again, the biggest thing is don't let any of the planning scare you. Go get on the bike and go ride, and do it the best way that you guys know how. You know.
I'll be honest, I'm one of those, I'm just going to jump on the bike and head a direction kind of people most of the time. Now, if I'm going like out of state or to areas I'm really unfamiliar with, or I've got a time limit, I definitely want to go plan something out. Okay, these are the things I want to hit. And like Jerry too, I've slowed down as I've gotten older. I used to be, I want to get out, get to the twisties, and just rail them. You know what's not fun when you do that? Trying to figure out how to get home when you bend your bike. So I'm a big fan of not doing that now. Like I said, I still do spirited riding too. I'll get up and have some fun, but I lean heavily towards the safety side of my riding skill with a lot of room for error, whereas I used to go 100%. And I would do 100% 1,000 miles from home.
Yeah, if you can see my screen, I use a tool called Milanote to plan out my trips, and each day and where I'm going, how many miles each route, everything is all mapped out on this little tool that I have. So it's all my lodging, what it's going to cost me, all that stuff. So
okay, that's kind of awesome.
Wow.
Plot twist: Jerry got us into using this for the show notes for the show, and all our planning for that too, and it's brilliant for that. It is wonderful. So now we're gonna suck down this rabbit hole, and I'm gonna have to learn to use it for that, because my wife has to have it planned road for road. She hates my motorcycle GPS. She wants to know where, when, what time, what we're eating, where we're staying.
most of our trips are more of the longer trips, taking the camper, take the bikes. Once we get there, then we ride, and the logistics of getting there is very well planned out for the most part. Once we get there, the plan becomes typically much more fluid based on what do we want to do today. And I enjoy. I'm not one of those people that has to get miles in every single, like, I need to do 500 miles for it to be a good day. I would much rather have a nice little spirited ride through some twisties and then, oh, look, there's a waterfall. I'm going to stop there for 20 minutes and
Yep.
take pictures. And, or we did a, before my wife really rode, we did a cross country road trip we had a Miata at the time. And we found all kinds of like goofy little roadside attractions. Like, I think it was somewhere out in Indiana, there's a giant dragon and a knight, and you put 50 cents in the thing and it blows fire on the knight.
Oh yeah.
And like little things like that, like, you have to get off the highway to see the cool stuff. When West Virginia, we found there's a few, when people go to Canaan Valley, there's about 25 miles away, there's another 30 miles away, there's another state park that there's multiple sets of waterfalls, and it's just so cool to stop there. In fact, one of the stops there is actually what the cover photo is on our state MSTA page. And you have to try and find these places, and you don't do that trying to pound miles against the grain. Like, I don't like getting too regimented in my planning that I can't stop and smell those roses that I find.
Yeah. Hey, since we're talking about those photo challenges, shout out, because Jerry's got one going on too, the motorcycle photo challenge, and they changed the subject every month, right, Jerry?
Yeah, we do one every month. Yeah, and
Yep. I'm looking
so
forward.
Tom, what about you?
It depends. So I don't do the long epic rides. It depends if I'm going by myself. So if I'm doing a guy's trip, typically my trips are 3 to 5 days for the most part. If I'm doing that, I don't plan everything out, but I do plan out all my routes, and I use a particular app on my iPhone that all my routes are planned out. But that allows me to branch off and do other things if needed. I am not a sightseer when I'm out by myself, so to me, I map out my roads because I want to ride those particular roads. So to me, the road is the sightseeing. That being said, now changes as far as when my wife and I go traveling. That's one of the reasons we got rid of the Goldwing, is that we found I bought a trailer a couple of years ago, and we found much better to put the bike in the trailer, go someplace, find a nice, comfortable hotel, use that hotel as our base camp, and then do day rides out of there. We did that, did a long 6-week trip around the country, spent a week up in Rapid City and did that, as well as visiting a few other places. And a lot easier as far as to do that type of riding. That's what kind of we prefer. For myself, yeah, 3 to 5 days is good enough. And when I'm riding, I typically find my fun factor is pretty much ended after about 7 to 8 hours on the bike. I'm ready to get off and do something else.
I think RJ.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
No, I was going to say it really depends, but my writing has changed a little bit, but I'm not going to stop and take pictures. I don't do pictures. I don't sightsee.
I think RJ's got the right. I've really became, now that we have the Jeep and a trailer and we like to camp. If it's my wife and I, will trailer someplace, and we will base camp out of there, and then we'll just go ride and go see all the cool stuff. Like, so here's a prime example. When we were at the Cape Girardeau Star, right? We were doing some planning before that. We found out that the home of Superman was like 60 miles away in some small town in Illinois, right? Or wherever we went. And so we just jumped on the bike and went up there. I'd have never known that because you wouldn't ride there. It was a boring ride to get there. But after 60 miles, you got to see a whole town full of Superman stuff, right?
Oh, nice.
So how often are you going to get to do that, right? So yeah, and that's what's cool about riding a motorcycle, right? Is everybody can enjoy what what their thought of touring is and that sort of thing. I love doing longer rides. Like I said, I'm getting ready to go do 14 days to Flagstaff, and you guys are gonna get tired of seeing pictures and videos, but
no, we won't.
You can just scroll by if you don't like it,
For those of us that are stuck in this little loop of can't get enough time off, we're going to be enjoying it epically through you.
I will say we have had a couple bad experiences with the not planning things, particularly in North Carolina. I don't know of any other states where numbered state roads like North Carolina, like 28 or something like that. That wasn't the number. Will go from being this gorgeous 2-lane, twisty, fun road to dirt.
What are you talking about? It's North Carolina. The interstates do that.
And dirt is fun on an adventure bike. Dirt is not fun on a sport bike that you're doing a track day with in a day.
Oh, boy. I don't know. Wisconsin's good for their... You're halfway down a county road, and it's oh wow, we chip sealed it. Hi. Yesterday.
Pennsylvania does that too.
Like, oh, thanks for the warning. I'm sliding. No, I'm starting. The older I get, the more, especially with me traveling more with my wife and now my daughter, they want to stop and see things. So I've had to force myself into that, and then trying to do content and stuff. I want to stop and get the drone up, get some cool shots with that. I want to have the camera out, run some video. And it's forced me to stop and look at the cool things. And I realize, I spend a lot of time missing a lot of cool stuff when I'm traveling. And I'm just blazing past it.
I will say, as far as having the trailer has helped out quite a bit. So, it allows us to combine multiple types of activities rather than just a motorcycle vacation. Because especially if you're going to go travel 2 up on the bike, you can only take so much stuff where it's hard to do other things. You're just going to be riding on the bike and maybe doing some sightseeing.
Right.
My wife and I like to hike a lot, so it allows us to bring us our hiking gear and stop and ride for a day and keep going. We've got a trip planned this summer up to the Northeast, and we're going to go spend a month in the Northeast visiting family and friends, and spend some time, go somewhere up into Maine or Vermont, probably camp out not camp out, go to a nice hotel, so not the camping thing, and use as the base of operations to travel around the Northeast a little bit more.
Yeah, I know we've talked about that now too. We're shifting over. If we do anything outside of the state, basically, it's trailer time. We're just gonna throw the bikes in the trailer, and take them there. Like if we start doing when we start doing some of the other MSTA events that are outside of our region, that's how we're getting there. We're trailering down. We're gonna spend the weekend or week, whichever one it is, enjoying the time with the people, enjoying the ride. Then we can put the bikes back in the trailer and have a nice, relaxing drive home. And it kind of, when you've got limited time, we have pretty good PTO banks, but a lot of it gets chewed up with kids and family stuff. So when you get that limited window of time, you can stretch out more with it.
Just quit. It's a lot easier.
I got a couple more years before I can do that. And a daughter who's about to go to med school. Don't have kids, people.
I mean, our big reason for doing it is actually our dogs, because it's so tough to find people to watch them and to leave them, and having the camper, they can come with us. They have a place to stay. In
Yeah.
fact, they're really good track dogs too, because we've stayed at a couple different racetracks and go do a session, go let them out, go feed them, go pet them a little bit, and then.
And next thing you know, everybody that you're racing with is coming up and loving on the dogs, because the dogs are in love with everybody, because dogs. And you've now got track mascots.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's a win. All right, so we basically covered everything from you just bought the bike and good places to go to get it, to some things that could be necessary on the bike and some nice to haves, and a little bit about just not overdoing it. We've talked about some gear, and we've talked about how to plan the rides. So your next step from there is to jump on RideMSTA.com and go to events and find a couple. Find something close by. You don't have to be a member to go and enjoy it. Just come see what this is about. Because once you find the next... Uh-oh. Apparently Jerry didn't like me anymore. And I was just about to say how wonderful the community is. But once you've met the community and you've experienced the camaraderie and things like that surround motorcycling in general, and the MSTA in specific. I've been around a lot of bike groups. MSTA is second to none. So it is...
Hey, he's back.
Yay! Come find the events. Come enjoy some of the rallies. See what it's all about. Find the rides. Find the food. Check your local areas. See who's doing some stuff there. And enjoy the sport. It is extremely rewarding. And you will meet some of the best people and some of the longest term friends you will ever have.
Hey, I got something I want to throw in too. For all of you out there who are MSTA members, in your email box you should have a survey, and we put out this survey because we need your feedback. So if you are an MSTA member, please check your email and your spam folder and fill out that survey for us. It's a quick 5 minutes. Let us know what what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to see. Tell everybody how much you love me. Just kidding. We'd really appreciate your feedback, and it only helps us get better as a club if you guys help participate.
Yep, 100%. And I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot. The leadership committee for MSTA is extremely responsive, and they are always looking to do better for the club. So, absolutely, take it. Take the survey, let them know what's going on, or message them. You can email. The links for the email for all the members of the EC are on the webpage. Thoughts, ideas, send them to them. They want to hear it. So, maybe not Jerry.
Well, unless it's Tom talking about not wanting to camp, everything else is okay.
Yeah. I just see no reason to go sleep in the dirt when there's a fine hotel right down the street.
It took me years to get past that whole, I did a year of over the road and sleeping in a box. And I was kind of over it. Took me a long time to get past that again, to where it's like, I have this really nice house with a really expensive bed. Let's just sleep there. And now it's like, okay, I can get on board with the camping thing again.
Yeah, I guess it comes from, I spent my career living in hotels.
Oh.
I spent 20 plus years traveling 100%, or actually 30 years traveling 100%. So, to me, roughing it is no room service and no HBO.
I mean, you'd almost think you'd want to get away from the hotels at this point.
I tried it, on occasion, but it was like, it just, not the novelty, but I guess the draw of how nice it seems to be was lost in the practicality of all the stuff you got to bring along and going to share a porcelain receptacle with several hundred other people.
Valid.
Camping in the wrong places, Tom.
Yeah, the right
And I
places
like
don't have that
AC.
receptacle. You just got to go find a hole in the woods.
Yeah, you lost me there. I like ACs and my own personal porcelain receptacle.
So on that note, final thoughts. What's the one best travel tip you can give to anybody just getting ready to take their first tour? I'm going to
Take
go out
lunch
there.
with you.
Just go do it. Don't let any of this stuff. I'm telling you, don't get caught up between gear and climb jackets and bags and all that crap. Go get on your motorcycle and go ride. That's the best tip I can give you.
I'm going to go out and say it doesn't matter what motorcycle you ride. Any bike can be a touring bike. Just ask Brad Batchelor.
On the same
That's
note,
true.
I was just thinking of a story that I had read that Peter Egan had written. I think they were doing a couple 1,000-mile trip on a Honda 160.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
any bike's a touring bike. Don't wait to get the stuff. Don't wait till you get that GS and just go out and do it.
Yeah,
Because if you get the GS, it takes so long to tour because you got to stop at all those Starbucks.
yeah. And then you got to be sick to your stomach from the bad coffee. I don't know.
With that, all right, we're over an hour and a half in.
Yep. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Remember, check out RideMSTA.com and our Facebook page. And on that note, we'll see you next time.